Good afternoon. It's been a little while since we've done a video, so I thought I'd do a new one. Managed to get quite a bit done on the car. It's been parked up for most of the winter while I've been working through the various different niggles that we had towards the end of last year. As you know, so we now got things like the cams working, we've got all the trigger stuff sorted out, so the ECU is working properly. The targets over the past few weeks has been the engine mount on the cam belt side that had collapsed slightly, so I needed to clearance that as it was out because it's very close to the cam pulley on that side, and also add some reinforcement. In this case I've just put some polyurethane underneath it so that it supports the whole thing off the chassis rail. Water injection system has also been, I've been touch and go on that, just sorting things out. The pressure regulator, which I had, so the OEM one I couldn't get working properly, I think because the ball, the way that it tries to regulate pressure, the ball sat really awkwardly in the orifice which it's mounted on, and it just stuck and it wouldn't feed properly. So I had another fuel pressure regulator. I tried that. It worked for a short time, then that stopped. Took that apart, found that the internals had a steel ball bearing to try and seal the pressure, and that corroded, of course, quite quickly, even though I'm using meth. So that's now, I took it apart and I replaced that with a 316 stainless ball bearing. So that's all either aluminium or stainless steel now. So that should be fine. I've plumbed all that up, and I'll show you a test in a second. I've made some cowlings for the steering column. So let's have a look, see if we can see. So the bottom of the steering column is always a bit of a contentious subject because it's quite sharp. I have made if I can get this in, a cowling which sits under here. So that now that fits up against the standard cowling and will join up to it. Then I've got another bit to go over the top. I've been putting some of the OEM plastics in as well. So we'll have a cowl that sits over the top of here. So that should enclose everything that it needs to. Also, different master cylinder. As usual, everything needs modifying, even slightly. This one nearly fitted perfectly, but there's a little bit which I had to take off the back. Other than that, this is a 0.7 master cylinder. So we're going from a 21mm down to about a 16 or 17mm, I think. 0.7, what's that? 19, 18, about 18mm, 17, 18mm. So we should have a significant improvement in the pedal. The issue was that I went from a stock pedal, which was a 6.25 ratio, to the Wilwood box, which is a 5.25, on an already very heavy, very grabby clutch, and it made it really awkward to drive. I'm hoping that that should fix it and make it a bit easier to drive, because at the moment I'm considering moving the seat and the steering column and everything back to standard, because it's a bit unpleasant to drive on the road, and that's the whole point of the car. It's a road car. If that fixes it, good-o. If not, we need another solution. But that's something which we can think about once I've tried this out. So I need a fitting to fit up the Air-Equip clutch hose. Once that's in, I can bleed it and we can test that out. So I'll ignition on. I have put in a better permanent live now. I can't remember if I told you that before, but I had it plumbed up so that when I turned off the main power key, it was switching off the ECU and powering it down, and that actually caused some problems with the memory. So now that's sorted. So the engine mount's sorted as well, so the wastegate pipe that wasn't fitting before because the engine had dropped slightly, that now works perfectly. So let's move you around this side. Over here we have our water injection system. So I took this apart, rebuilt it, stainless steel internals. The pump's working. I've put a filter in, which as usual, that's had to be modified as well. Everything has to be modified. So let's have a look. If I switch this on, there's going to be a couple of leaks. I don't know where they're coming from at the moment. I think one of the fittings might not be quite right, but let's switch you on. Pretty steady 4-bar. Yeah, nice steady 4-bar. So that now means that we have well, I can adjust it. That pump will go up to, crikey, 5 bar, I think. It's boost referenced, so what I'll probably do is I'll run it at maybe 3 bar. I'm going to run a E85 injector, which is stainless steel internals. So an E85 injector, PWM control from the ECU with a 3D map. The water injection pump is just switched on and off via an aux signal, so that's parametric against something like boost, and maybe air intake temp. I can run it off multiple signals, and that means that our water injection is working. So that's another hurdle down. Air filter. So previously our air filter came from here, and it came kind of swooping up, kind of here next to the manifold. Not great. I mean, it fed from the vent up, which sits kind of here, but that wasn't particularly productive, unfortunately, because of the temperatures involved. So what I've done now is, let's see, where are we? The pipe now goes from our turbo, which sits over here, and that runs across. I need to get a couple of clamps for this bad boy, but that now runs up and around through here, and our air filter sits there. So it's all pretty neat and tidy, really. I've got it so that, I don't know if we can see it, let's move you around over here. I've got it rubber mounted. I've got it rubber mounted just over here, so that should, everything's kind of held in place, and that should work quite nicely then. I think that's about us for now. I'll get those leaks sorted out in the water injection, get the clutch plumbed in, and then we can go out and actually start giving it some hell, because I mean it's running, and all of the subsystems are working. Oh, knock sensor, that's the only other thing. Knock sensor's wired in back to front, which is why it's not working. I've got a deep in tool coming from China, so I'll be able to deep in that, swap it round and get that working. But that's it. That's it. We can go out and start actually mapping the thing on the road and see what she'll do. Eventually, when we will get it onto the dyno, but money's a bit short at the moment. So we'll get it onto the rollers and, well, hopefully a hub dyno and see what it will do. But yeah, so all good. More soon. Thank you very much.